Who would have thought that a singular development of an indie game who puts passion, love, sweat, and tears into his game enormously outperforms any AAA slob that's being thrown at our feet like the dirty, molded bread in a prison cell?
This is insane. This game has done everything wrong, but it's still winning.
Wrong by whose standards?
In the middle of the busiest release schedule of 2025, we are talking about some of the heaviest hitters in both indie and in AAA.
What was like the recent releases? I don't even know anymore. I'm out of touch.
A little game called Mega Bonk comes out of nowhere and is sold so
Dude, everybody was playing this
consistently and so regularly and has so many players that are playing it that it is now directly competing with Borderlands 4 and Ghost of Yote. We are talking about games that have spent likely hundreds of millions of dollars just on their marketing budgets versus a game that spent literally nothing.
It's almost like if you make an art form for entertainment purposes, it's not necessarily a good idea to have a massive bloated company doing it.
At least that's the way it looks from my perspective. This game's success is entirely organic. It's grass-fed. It's homegrown. It's a game that was relatively unknown, only had a few devlogs on YouTube. It has now become one of the most talked about and played games this year, and it hasn't stopped yet. You know, if I was working at one of these AAA companies, if I was on their board of it...
Is he about to say they should take notes? They never do that. They never learn.
Executives, I would have a lot of questions because while these guys keep talking about how prices need to go up on just about everything that they have, it looks like they're wasting money to me because you have a guy, a solo developer, yet again, that...
Although I guess the main problem is the difference in priorities. Indie devs try to make a good game, while big devs try to earn money.
Made a game that's based off of memes in one of the most saturated genres in all of indie games, and he's making them look like fools.
True. There's like so many Vampire Survivor clones right now.
So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the success of Mega Bonk and how against all odds the game that did everything wrong is somehow actually doing everything right, why a game like this has continued to grow, and why I think they planned it all. But before that, this video is sponsored by boot.dev. What I really love about their site and program is you can just create a free account, preview every single course, and read all of the content in guest mode. But if you want the real experience, the interactive coding, answer verification, progress tracking, and community boss fights, well...
Dude, humanity is so cooked. If they can't even learn a skill anymore without gamifying it.
Go to boot.dev and use my code LegendaryDrops to get 25% off your first entire year on an annual...
Should I just become an indie developer? Dude, I just make a great game. Easier said than done, right?
Plan. That's boot.dev, code LegendaryDrops. Link is in the description and the pinned comment. One of the things I find so fascinating about these indie success stories is how almost none of them are ever alike.
I mean, it's kind of simple. They're making games which the main focus is gameplay, compared to like, I don't know, any AAA game where the main focus is, look how amazing the graphics are. If you move slightly through the grass moves and shakes, and oh, there's a butterfly coming out of the grass. Oh, my lord.
Of over 80 hours of gameplay just in the demo alone, and the only reason people found it was because they started pushing it on streamers like Queso. Palworld was an incredibly fun game on its own, but its over-the-top tone and its controversy with Nintendo turned what could have been an obscure indie curiosity.
Oh, you know what it also could be? These indie games usually don't take themselves too serious as well, compared to like the, oh, what is it called? The sad dad games. Like a male protagonist who's just sad, or like a strong independent woman who does everything by herself.
Into one of the most talked about releases in the past 5 years, Balatro, Expedition 33. We can continue to go down the list, and it's going to be the same. In almost every single one of these cases, there was some strange hook, some defining trait that helped these games to rise above the rest and make traditional marketing feel entirely pointless. These games didn't succeed despite the system. They succeeded outside of the system, reaching heights that some of the most expensive AAA releases in recent years can't even touch, even after spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to buy the exact same attention. Which brings us to the latest success, and honestly...
Bro, who's that guy? I haven't played Mega Bonk, but they got a chat? Bro, I gotta play it.
One of the weirdest ones yet, Mega Bonk, developed by a solo dev going under the name Vetadad. For whatever reason, if you guys haven't heard of this game, it's a survivor-like that's built off the exact same formula that was popularized
Yeah, I kind of assumed it's kind of like Vampire Survivors mixed with Risk of Rain in a way.
by Vampire Survivors, a genre that has completely
Yeah,
flooded the indie space at this point. We are way past the point of saturation here. Every theme, every...
I mean, isn't that like an old game archetype though? Isn't this basically roguelikes or roguelites? Because that kind of form of gameplay always have existed, right?
IP, every niche seems to have one of these games right now. There's Hollow Cure with its VTuber cast, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, Heretical, which is essentially Diablo as a survivor, Halls of Torment, 20 Minutes Till Dawn. The list doesn't just end. So when I say that a game like this shouldn't have succeeded, I mean it, because there are just so many of them out there. And while a lot of these games do just fine...
Oh, you know what it also could be? Like the arcade kind of style of gameplay. You can just jump in, play for like 15, 30 minutes and then be good, basically. While those big AAA games, you have to sit there for like dozens, maybe hundreds of hours because it's open world and oh my god, there's hundreds of hours of gameplay. And it just takes so long, you kind of lose interest.
True breakout success is an entirely different story when a genre is...
Especially if like the story or like the gameplay is mediocre at best.
...this crowded, but Mega Bonk did it. As of recording this video, Mega Bonk hit a peak of over 117,000 concurrent players on Steam, but it didn't start there. It launched at barely 3,000 players. It doubled that number the next day, then it climbed another 5 and 10,000 almost every single day until it broke 100,000 players. That kind of steady day-by-day growth almost never happens, and once you look into how this game actually reached those players, it starts...
I think I know why that is. Because most games get crazy hype before release, which gives like an initial boost in gamers to play, inadvertently not really considering the word of mouth or whatever, where like a game naturally grows, right?
To make perfect sense. The first thing, and probably the most obvious, is the price. Yet another game that's sitting at about $10 or less, making it easy entry point for just about anyone. It doesn't feel like a commitment. It's cheaper than McDonald's, and with it being on Steam, if you don't like it, you can just refund it. Nothing here is making you feel like you're locked in, you're not married to the game, something that we cannot say for a majority of...
Also, if you don't like the game and you only paid like $10, you would just, you know, whatever. But if you paid $70 or $60 and the game's ass, then you kind of get angry.
The games that have released recently. Now, on top of that, during its launch week, the developer put it on sale for $8. Imagine that. It's actually something that I've seen more and more indie games start to do lately, and it's incredibly smart. It gives people a reason to take a chance right away. Why do they want to buy today? That's a question that some of these developers need to be asking.
Oh, that's true. I've watched a couple of devlogs, and in most of them, they describe how you need to put the game on sale, especially like on release week, to kind of also catch the people that only buy games that are on sale, right? Because most people, me included, I'm guessing it's most people, I made that statistic up, they most of the time probably only buy games that are on sale. Or like, you know, the new hot game that's being released lately.
Themselves, especially right now when we are in the middle of a huge flood of releases, most of them $70 games with hardware prices that are skyrocketing around them. People do not have a lot of extra cash that's sitting around right now, but $8 or $10, I mean, anybody can scrape that together without a second thought. Now, I'm not going to sit here...
Is that true? I'm kind of wondering if that's true or not. Because there were like plenty of examples where that's not the case. Like God of War is like a AAA game with like $60, $70, then what else? Zelda, and did I say Elden Ring? I think it's that Elden Ring. Oh no, I didn't say Elden Ring. Yeah, if the game is good, people find the money to like buy the good game. But if they're like considering to buy a $10 game, it is easier to like get into.
That I think Mega Bonk is some revolutionary leap forward for the survivor genre. I've been playing it, I've definitely been addicted to it, but what I think really sets this game apart is that it's fully 3D and it heavily leans into mechanics that have been ripped straight out of Risk of Rain 2, which I love, by the way, because it's a game that I have over 1,000 hours into, and, well, that also makes me realize just how dangerous it is for me to be playing a game like this. But movement and positioning play a massive role in the game. You got to think about how you're traversing the map and how your abilities work. The game heavily leans into meme culture with characters and items named things like Mega Chad, Burgor, and a tree boss named Bar.
Or a skateboard riding
Darth
skeleton.
Vader. The game is just really lighthearted, absurd, and fun. And honestly, that's what sold me on the game, because there's just so many full-priced games out right now that require 70 hours of progression, even if you feel like you just even started the game. They take themselves so seriously, and guys, I'm just kind of tired of it at this point. I just want something I can.
What? You have gaming fatigue of boring long stories and open worlds where you have to run to the next objective for 10 hours? Just to have like another line of dialogue?
Jump in and jump out of. I don't feel like I need to make time for it. I feel refreshed after playing it. I don't need to memorize controls or mechanics. And it's what makes games like this so great, because you can just learn by feeling. And game feel is something that's just entirely lost on this industry right now. Hell, I largely don't even need to think while I'm playing this game, but that doesn't mean that the game can't get serious. Mechanically, the game is incredibly simple, but you got to make sure that you have a solid build by the time you reach each stage's final boss. Otherwise, you're just going to get hammered.
Bark Vader.
You got to have the movement nailed down. You got to have...
I wonder what reference that is.
Multiple layers of protection stacked up. Otherwise, you're just going to get one shot by the final boss. It's the kind of game where every single choice matters, and that gives it a very different flavor of challenge from a lot of other games in this genre. And the music, that's another thing too. Dude, the music in this game has no business going this hard. It is way too good. It is so easy to find myself just...
Damn, now I kind of want to play that game, actually.
Just trapped in a trance, disassociating, and looking up and seeing that hours have gone by. But none of those things are why this game actually reached players. That's the foundation. That's the stuff that made it all possible. But what really pushed this game into the spotlight was something entirely different. See, MEGABONK didn't have any traditional marketing. What it did have was a developer that was uploading their devlogs to YouTube. Actually, scratch that. There was only one devlog and a handful of YouTube shorts that completely outperformed that long-form video.
Damn, I got millions of views on the shorts. Dude, shorts is where it's at.
These shorts were brilliant. High-colored thumbnails, bubble text pulled straight from tweets and YouTube comments, meta humor showing players asking for new mechanics and characters, and the developers showing that they were actually making it for them. Later ones started showing these players beating the developer's high score in the demo.
Oh my god, what a crazy concept. Giving the gamers what they want. Listening to your fans and implementing their input? What? Unheard of. Who would do that?
And there were other ones that were showing people breaking the game entirely with busted builds. And then there's also this mystery behind the entire thing. A lot of people believe this game was made by Danny Dev, a YouTuber that vanished about 3 years ago. The developer's name, Venedad, is literally Danny Dev spelled backwards. And the thumbnails and the editing style are almost identical to his. Whether it's actually him returning under a new name or it's somebody that just perfectly studied his playbook, it worked. The videos hit the exact same mix of humor, creativity, and accessibility that made Danny Dev's channel blow up in the first place. And while I've been watching this entire thing, I realized what was actually happening. This, my friends, is pure, unfiltered social media marketing genius, and I love it.
Oh my god.
Take a minute to think about it.
Bro, imagine. Imagine if companies start to just fire their whole marketing department and just like hire some kind of 15-year-olds terminally online Twitter users.
Videos that are suggesting features, and then he shows that he put those features in, they invite more people to comment with their own ideas, which then boosts engagement and feeds the algorithm. The videos that are showing the leaderboards and the broken builds, that's encouraging more players to share their own footage in hopes that the developer might feature them next. It's a self-sustaining loop of curiosity and recognition. The audience is shaping the game, the developer is shaping the content, and the cycle just keeps feeding itself. They made a game for the players, and now those players are marketing that game, which means the next step was only a matter of time. Streamers. Nearly every major streamer on YouTube and Twitch have been playing MEGABONK, and all these guys have been addicted to it. I only found out about the game because somebody popped into my live chat and asked me if I had tried the game yet. I said that I hadn't heard about it, and they said that they had found it through those same YouTube shorts and brought it to their favorite content creator, and that's exactly how it spread. The same thing happened with Queso, Moist Critical, Shroud, Quinn69, and eventually Asmongold when he...
Wait, they weren't even sponsored by this? Dude, that's insane. This is free publicity. What the heck?
Came back from his break. Glad to see that guy's doing all right, by the way. Once those streamers got into their hands, visibility hit critical mass. Each new creator that picked up the game brought in more players, and the numbers just kept climbing from there. And now this loops us all the way back to gameplay, because remember what I said earlier, it's the foundation, not the catalyst. MEGABONK has insane replayability. Each level is broken up into 3 different areas. Those 3 areas have 3 difficulty tiers.
That's just like normal roguelike stuff, I guess.
Challenges, quests, unlockable items, characters, weapons, tomes, skins, maps.
If you don't have that nowadays in your roguelikes, or Vampire Survivor clones, then the game is considered to be a flop.
App secrets, it's stacked with a ton of different content. Combine that with how fun the game is and how mechanically satisfying it is to play, and now you have something that's hooking in players for weeks. So as visibility grew, the new players weren't dropping in and leaving.
What does the chat guy do?
They were staying, they were playing daily, sharing clips, streaming it, and that created this
does he have an aura that kills me? Bro is aura farming.
cycle of growth that just built upon itself, a perfect storm of fun gameplay, streamer exposure,
It's literally called aura.
and social media momentum. Something that the rest of this industry desperately needs to learn from, but they likely won't. Out of the huge slate of AAA games, and just games in general that we've seen release over the past couple of months, I have played Borderlands 4, Hades 2, and Silksong. And after playing Borderlands 4, I felt like I needed to take a week-long break before I even tried to dip a toe into playing Dying Light 2. And while there are AAA games that I like, right now I'm in the mode of I've seen it, I've been there, I've done that. I've heard this story before, and there is just so much time commitment and so much time between when I can actually get to the content, the heart of the actual experience, that it just makes me go, no, I'm just really not that into it. I want a digestible game. And Megabonk, that's a digestible.
Maybe that's just like an opinion of everybody who grew up with video games and is now in their 30s or something. Like, I've been playing games for a decade now. Can't I just go to the good part? Can't we just have a game that's like 10 hours but good instead of 100 hours of open world nonsense?
Game. I think there's something to that. I think it's not that there's too much or too little content with some of these games. I think it's the speed and the frequency in which you can actually reach the content and how quickly you can actually enjoy it. That's how you keep people playing your games. That's how you...
Oh, I mean, I guess that's fair because like those Vampire Survivor games really draw on your dopamine with like flashing lights. Oh, you got a new item. Ding-a-ling-ling-ling. Look at this. Jingle jangle. Jingle jangle. New item. Jingle jangle.
You keep people talking about your games. You know, this entire first week that I've seen of Ghost of Yotei being up and around, a lot of people are just sharing how pretty the game is. And while you can definitely sell copies based on how pretty something is, especially in the case of Ghost of Yotei, a lot of people are waiting on the content. And the longer it takes to get to the content...
Yeah. I mean, it's easier for investors to understand, right? It's like, oh, game pretty. There's a 100 hours of gameplay. That sounds good. I gotta invest. That's like the whole point of like those big flashy words and like buzzwords. It's mostly just to like convince investors to give them your money, and that's all it is.
The less interested people are going to be in the game, the less it's going to be a part of the discussion. And that's exactly how you lose momentum. The marketing for this game is just genius. That's all it is. This developer knew exactly what they were doing. The minute they saw those YouTube shorts take off, they abandoned the long form videos. They focused directly on that. They answered player feedback directly. They implemented their changes into the game. So when the players finally got their hands on the game, they got exactly what they had asked for. And people...
Also, it just shows goodwill. If you're listening to your fan base, it shows them like, hey, I hear you. I'll try to implement that. People love that shit. Compared to like Blizzard, people keep complaining about bullshit, and Blizzard's like, yeah, well, we know better, but thanks, we didn't read. Too long didn't read.
People love to talk about getting exactly what they want. That's like 90% of social media today. It's people that are talking about getting exactly what they want or being mad that they aren't getting what they want.
Also, I guess a big strength in indie games is they don't fall into the trap of overpromising, because a lot of AAA games have like those big press junctions and like intros and explanations and devlogs, in quotation devlog, dev interviews, I guess, instead, where they promise you everything possible that could be in the game. Then when it's releasing, then, you know, it's not as amazing as it's been told.
If you tap into that, you're going to find success. I think that's the best part of it, because when a game pops off like this, the players aren't just playing it, they're sharing it, they're clipping it, they're talking about it because it's theirs. They own it. That's not marketing. That is just organic momentum.
It's almost like if you have fun with the game, you want to share it with your buddies.
That is
interest,
real interest. And that's something that you just can't buy. And that's something that AAA keeps trying to do. One of the things that I think really helps sell these recent indie successes is the genuine desire to be a part of something that is real. Players want to be in on it early. They want to be the first ones to find out about the next hit surprise before anybody else does. Communities then form around that, and there's something
I
patently
guess.
authentic about that experience, almost nostalgic, like the days of Midnight
I guess that could be a factor to find like the hidden gem in the giant trash pile that is Steam. I suppose that could be, but I don't think that's like the main motivation, right? It's more like a lucky find instead, I almost feel like.
launches or meeting friends in line while you're waiting for a game that you're all excited about. It's the same feeling of shared discovery, of genuine excitement, and it's something that you cannot manufacture, though many of publishers are trying to do so right now. Something that is not necessarily new but feels more blatant than ever is how inauthentic the excitement around certain games have become. Take the upcoming Call of Duty Black Ops 7. The hype behind this game feels entirely forced.
Bro, who even buys these games anymore? Black Ops 7, Call of Duty 10, Battlefield a million. Isn't this just the same game over and over?
Especially from content creators and the marketing itself. And I'm not talking about paid sponsorships or brand deals or even talking money under the table. I'm just talking about being performative. I mean, how is anybody supposed to take any of this enthusiasm seriously when we're talking about a series that has spent years now eroding player trust? This franchise has been slut farming its audience for over a decade.
It's almost like they tapped into the enshitting factor, bloating the company so much up, like firing the original team that actually made the company successful, and then put in like a bunch of salesmen and marketing teams and a bunch of like, 9 to 5 devs that don't really care. Oh, wow, the game's not amazing? How could that happen?
Trailer has over 500,000 dislikes on YouTube. Yet we have content creators and Activision that are both trying to desperately convince
our fans love it. Freaking delusional.
Everybody that this is somehow the best Call of Duty ever. Everywhere I look right now, I'm seeing videos and posts that are trying to convince players that Battlefield 6 won't last, that Call of Duty deserves another chance, that this one will finally be different, guys. These guys need a hotline is what they need. But what we're seeing here is fear. It's a collision of circumstances where longtime creators who have built their platforms around this series need it to be able to stay relevant, while Activision is genuinely threatened by real competition. Black Ops 6 is at its lowest player count in over a decade. Reports are saying that Microsoft lost $300 million putting the game on Game Pass. Both sides of this are trying to cling to the exact same sinking ship, each one pretending like it's still sailing, and they are hoping that you will start.
Here's a crazy idea. How about you make a new IP that's actually cool and interesting and has amazing gameplay?
Rowing. The result has been this strange, corporate, hollow atmosphere.
Although I guess Bethesda kind of tried that with Starfield. Although I feel like that was not the problem of Starfield. Starfield had its own little mistakes in there.
One that's probably going to do a lot more harm than good. The harder they push this forced enthusiasm, the more it's going to just drive players away. And when you're releasing a new Call of Duty every single year, it's not an event anymore. It's just a transaction, a routine, and no amount of empty excitement is ever going to change that. And
Bro, that's true. Actually, it kind of reminds me of like battle passes or like seasonal content in like always online games. You gotta go to the new season or you're gonna miss it.
I think makes this all the more hilarious is the games that aren't screaming for attention are the ones that are getting it right now. I mean, Activision and Microsoft are burning hundreds of millions of dollars trying to fake excitement. Mega Bonk did it all for free. People actually cared. People wanted to talk about it because
it's almost like people subconsciously understand that big studios just want their money at this point. And small indie devs actually want to make a good game.
They actually wanted to. Streamers played it because they were genuinely curious about it. The conversation wasn't scripted. It was spontaneous. That's the difference. Mega Bonk feels like a game that was made for its community, not a product that was being sold at them. It wasn't designed to dominate engagement metrics or check off corporate KPIs.
He's way more eloquent in explaining this. I'm just saying like, big studio ass, indie gamers, nice. Although there's like plenty of indie devs that like make trash games, to be fair.
It's just fun, and that's enough to make people want to share it. AAA can spend all the money in the world, but if the players don't believe in what they're selling, well, it's just noise. And I don't think these guys have realized it yet. The constant releases, the endless sequels, the recycled franchises, they have no motion. It ties back to that been there, done that fatigue I mentioned earlier. We have seen these games before, and they're running out of tricks to be able to play, to be able to try to keep us interested. Hell, now more than ever, they don't even entice us with anything new.
I think I heard like another theory of this, where supposedly the future of gaming is not going to be new games or sequels or like, a remake or anything. It's more like something how Roblox and Fortnite does it. It's more like or I guess to some extent also VR chat. It's games will become more of a hub where you go in and then there's like a bunch of mini games or like different game modes, and you like hang out in the game with your friends and then choose what mini game to play inside of it, curated by the devs and basically made by the players as well, to some extent. And that's is that realistic though? I guess to some extent, because we all see how successful Roblox and Fortnite is, right? Sure, like a big component of that is that it's free to play or whatnot, but it also has like almost unlimited content as well. And if you run out of like fun content to play, you just hit up the browser in game and find new things to play. It might be, oh, you know what it is comparable to? It's comparable to like YouTube videos. You sometimes find this amazing YouTube video, right, that you play, which is, for example, kind of like Mega Bonk, like a cool video you found, which is amazing, and you shared around. But there is also those channels that are super successful and upload like 5 videos a day, which is just a bunch of trash and slop. But because there's so much of it and constant bombardment of like videos, it just does well. Because people need the next thing, right? People need the next click, the next content, and the new line of dialogue. And I suppose in that way, those hub games might become the future, because it's just way easier to implement way more content in an existing game than trying to develop a new game with a new engine, with new gameplay, with new story. It's just easier to like implement more mini games inside of it, especially like if your community gets the chance to like upload their mini games as well, right?
The only thing they have left is to sell is nostalgia. Half of the excitement around these games anymore is the faint hope that the series might return to form or listen to player feedback.
Damn.
Those phrases by now have already lost all meaning. Players,
I'm actually wondering, did like nostalgic need ever really get fulfilled? Because that happens so often, right? With sequels, prequels, with remasters, with remakes. And some of them might be successful because of the nostalgia, but did it ever really fulfill that need to like have the new version of the old thing? I almost want to say in most cases it's kind of flopping, right?
Are so low right now that it's just borderline apathetic, and that's exactly why these indie hits are so big, and that's why they're thriving right now, because for once we don't know what we're getting. Expectations. Now, there's a conversation we should probably be having, because I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but as somebody who follows nearly every major release every single year, whether that's just tracking the news, the reception, or actually playing these games, one of the biggest factors that I've seen in a game's success has almost always come down to expectations. And more times than not, is the price that is set.
Devs still think a lot of hype is good. It's marketing, right? But if you overhype the game, then if there's just like small mistakes inside of it, people will rip you apart for it. You promised us, you promised us the sun in heaven, and we just get dirt.
It. Remember earlier when I was talking about how it's not a matter of a game having too much or too little content, but how quickly you can access it? I think it's the exact same logic that's applying to quality, or at least how we perceive it before we actually even touch a game.
I'm not sure. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. Having too little content is still kind of ass. Unless the gameplay is really crazy good and you don't need a lot of content. Although I suppose in a way like team shooters are like this, right? Because there isn't necessarily a lot of content in team shooters. It's just go in, defuse the bomb, and kill the other team. That's basically the content. But a lot of people still love it. I guess, you know what? I retract my disagreement. It's still working somehow.
Price is shaping that perception. How do you get people celebrating a game like Mega Bonk? Easy. They spend $8 to $10 on a game and they get something that massively over delivers. It was deeper, more competent, and way more fun than anyone expected for a game that looks like it costs $8. It's a surprise, a pleasant one, and it makes players feel like they've been given something, not sold something. You can feel the developer's appreciation baked into it.
Yeah, it just feels like you actually get something for your money. You actually get almost more worth of content and gameplay than you actually paid for it.
The directive there was to make money, sure, but not at the expense of the player's experience. When I think back to a game like Expedition 33, that's another one that released at $50 and it punched way above its weight. I don't really care about the vernacular here, indie, AA. Expedition 33 was a AAA experience, or at least what we should actually be expecting for AAA games to actually be like. Something mind-blowing, something you remember, something you want to come back to over and over
everybody
again.
tells me to play that game. Everybody tells me to play that game. I still haven't done that. Bro, I really need to.
And when you play a game like that, it feels like you've been gifted something by the developer. That $50 investment doesn't just feel worth it. It feels like you stole the damn game. And I think that games like that come from a mindset where the price isn't even on the developer's radar. That focus is just on the experience, and that sincerity then transfers directly into the player. Hell,
just like I said earlier, it's the priority. If somebody wants to make a good game, they make a good game. If they earn money while doing so, it's a big bonus. But more often than not, a lot of devs really just kind of want the money, don't they?
They just announced that they're going to have a new free DLC celebrating selling 5 million copies with entirely new dungeons, bosses, enemies, and costumes. Again, money was never the priority. The customer and their experience were. Now we turn our eyes to AAA.
Amazing.
$70 sets an insanely high bar that most of these companies will never reach. And honestly, regardless of the economy, I don't even think games should cost that much to begin with. That price tag creates a cycle of impossible expectations. You sell me a good $70 game one year, now you got to do it again.
I almost want to say the problem is the comparison, right? If you buy a game for $10 and it has so much content, so much fun, so many hours of gameplay, for $10, that's way different than buying a game for $70. It has less content or maybe less good gameplay. It just feels like you're kind of being robbed because you see that it works with less cost. If anything, $70 games should be way better than anything below $70.
The next year, only bigger, flashier, and somehow better. The problem is most of these studios are completely out of ideas. They've lost the talent that actually helped them earn that first $70, so now they have to compensate with graphics, higher fidelity, bigger worlds, higher...
I mean, generally I agree. They lost the talents, the original builder of the companies, but also it's just a question of like risk. Making a sequel, making like the 6th sequel, is just, in quotations, more safe because you know you're gonna sell a certain amount of copies. Compared to like, trying to make a new IP and then it's more risk. You don't know how it's gonna go. Maybe the fans will love it, maybe they hate it, and then you lost a bunch of money. And the investor's gonna be angry.
Budgets, all to make a game look like it was worth my money when it clearly isn't. You know what? At this point, I would argue that $70 price tag has actually flipped our expectations. Nobody believes in it anymore. Our expectations for a $70 game aren't sky high. They're buried in the dirt. We know exactly what we're buying. A game that has put a premium on its expense, not on our experience. We expect something safe, something recycled, something loaded with microtransactions. And
the worst part even is like they sell it to you for $70 and then there's still a microtransaction in it. There's still a bunch of DLCs that you have to buy. There's still expansions that you have to buy. Like, at what point is it enough money to make a good game? When comparatively, you see Mega Bonk for like $10, that gives you many hours of fun. It's just a comparison that like makes it look like they're robbing you.
Pre-order bonuses, we expect it to be rushed, buggy, unfinished, because cutting QA saves them money and the players will end up doing that job anyway. Worse, on top of that, we're also going to be the ones that are going to be paying for the fixes later. A really interesting discussion that I saw recently were players that were talking about the Game Pass price hikes and how they were totaling up all of their expenses so far as how many games they actually played and how many games they actually purchased in a year, and they came to the conclusion that the service wasn't worth it for them anymore. $5 here, $10 there. They're mostly buying indie games anymore. $360. That's not what they're spending every year on video games. And
Fair.
when I see that and I hear people talking about that, it makes me think that more and more people.
I mean, $360. That's like a AAA game every 2 months, right? Or am I miscalculating? 360? What? $10? No, wait. 360, that's $30 per month.
People are being drawn in by the price of some of these games rather than anything else. And the dagger here is that price tag is inviting them in, but the game itself is exceeding far beyond their expectations. And I would actually argue that even if you go and you watch some of the reviews for some of these games, or even go watch a streamer play some of these games, they're still going to deliver an experience that you don't expect. For me, with Mega Bonk, it was how the game actually feels to play, the mechanical depth of how it feels to play.
Because indie developers take risks. They make the game they want to make and don't really bother with like how will the investors think about this, because they don't have investors. They don't have like crazy, in quotations, responsibilities to attend to. They don't have like, I don't know, hundreds of employees that they need to sell the game for. Unlike big studios where they have to minimize risk in an effort to like pay all the employees and to pay the investors back.
It's learning how momentum works and sliding around and how to be able to position yourself and position your character properly, to be able to use your weapons effectively, balancing your tomes and weapons and what kind of build that you're going to use, with what kind of character you're going to use, like using banana and trying to maintain a straight line to maximize its damage. That's not the kind of mechanical depth that I had expected from a game like this, but I got it, and it made me.
Why not? It's a Vampire Survivor. Don't they all do that, right?
More hooked on it, and it also makes me appreciate it more because I only paid $8 for it.
True.
That's what's driving a lot of these games to
cheap but good,
wild success. And you just don't see that in AAA games anymore because we know what to expect from them.
I mean, you can compare this to like restaurants as well, right? You'd rather go to like McDonald's to buy like an, I don't know, $8 burger comparatively to like going to a 5-star restaurant, buying a five-star meal that's like $100, which is like just 2 bites on a small little plate and then you're done. Sure, it might taste good for like a couple seconds, but then you're like, okay, I guess I paid $100 for this. Who can afford this in this economy?
And these companies need us to know what to expect from them because that's why they're called a safe option for these guys. Oh, it's a third-person sword guy action game. Oh, it's Dark Souls. It's literally Dark Souls. And while I like Dark Souls, I still want something new. I still want something fresh. I still want something different. And I still want you to try to exceed my expectations. And if you don't, well, it just makes me feel like I'm playing the same game over and over and over again.
True.
Well, that can be fun for a while. It's not fun for very long, especially when you're spending this kind of money. I totally
also,
think
you feel robbed.
Mega Bonk was made by Danny Dev. I totally think
it's
just way too much of a coincidence, obviously, with the name and also with the way that they made a lot of their content. I could totally see this being as one of those 0 to hero. I made a game without using my name or recognition or my channel to see if it could actually become popular on its own, and it worked. You know, one of those kind of things. You've seen content creators do that kind of stuff with like YouTube channels and Twitch streams and stuff. Like I tried to start all the way over, and this is how it happened. But it could just be somebody that's just insanely.
But if it's just like a game dev, why would he do that? I guess to prove that it works, maybe? I don't know. Maybe educational or something.
Fired by the guy, and if that's the case, that's pretty sick. I'll be honest with you. I will tell you right now, if you're an indie dev, I highly recommend that you pay attention to everything that happened with this game and how they continue to perpetuate the interest around it. You still have to have a good game first. I'm not saying that's not a part of the equation. That is the baseline. That is the expectation that most of us are going to have. Have a good game, but if you pay attention to how this developer had marketed the game, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to have an easy time.
It was a genius.
It's brilliant. Anyway,
guys, thanks for watching. And don't forget, vote with your wallet. If you stop buying microtransactions and crazy, too expensive bullshit games, then guess what? They're gonna make better games. They reduce the microtransactions because they don't work. And they're gonna cut the costs of development time if microtransactions don't work. Just saying. Just saying.